board. That's been motioned by Commissioner Cavan, seconded by Commissioner, made by Commissioner Capurro, seconded by Commissioner Cavan. Thank you. Everybody understand that amendment? Let's discuss that amendment.
I didn't understand it. It sounded to me like the main motion and the amended
Okay,
amendment to the main motion goes away.
No.
The main motion would be, the new main motion, as was previously amended, would go away and be replaced by a new motion, by a new amended motion, that's 15% across the board.
So that becomes,
That would become the new main motion if this passed.
yeah. That's what I thought.
Okay, Commissioner,
I have a question.
Mr. Vice Chairman.
What percent increase is it proposed in here? Exactly the percent increase that you've got in mule deer tags right now? You got 12% increase, so if we go 15, we're only gaining 3%.
My calculations is 10.2.
Can I get the answer to that question? Specific percentage?
We don't basically pick a percentage. What we do is we look at each population independently. After all those recommendations are made, then the percentage is reflected on there.
What is your total percentage increase?
I have no idea. We can scroll down and look at it, but along the lines of that percentage, one thing that we've been talking about and that Commissioner Capurro brought up is that it worked for all other species. And what I'd like to point out is that all other species, antelope, all-time high, elk, all-time high, California bighorn sheep, all-time high, desert sheep, all-time high. Those populations aren't populations that we try to insert ourselves to save the male segment thinking it's going to increase the population. So we don't get more and more and more conservative each and every year and see climbing male ratios in there that even though these populations are flat, like we're talking about, we've acknowledged that the population level is flat for the last 10 years, but we're seeing a larger proportion of males. So that percentage that we're recommending is going to be higher each year.
That's 10% right there.
All right, can we get a percentage, an overall percentage?
You had a number.
Across all?
Yeah, across all of these remaining,
Can you scroll down?
about where are we at?
You calculated about 10%.
It's statewide value. It has nothing to do. Where's the science?
That is a question from a commissioner, and I trying to process a motion that involves,
It's just over 10%.
okay, that involves that. If you happen to have it there, that'd be great. And we're just the total overall tags, the division, that's the total tags for,
That's just 1331 residents.
is there a number for all of them combined? Because that's what he's asking.
No, because it doesn't have any bearing on anything.
Numbers have bearing on things, at least that's what my accountant tells me, but anyways.
Individual herds are managed, not the statewide.
Please, we're trying to ask a question, and I'm trying to answer the question for a commissioner who asked a question.
It's 10%.
It's about 10%.
About 10%, okay. If we can't come up with
That
the
includes mule
percent.
tags that we've always already passed on, because they can
No.
also take.
No,
others.
not taking them into account.
Come out of the percentage. you're
Already
doing.
came out.
No, it's all-
Okay, that's
I just
past
added everything
tense.
up here while we were talking. For hunt numbers 1331, 1341, 1371. Last year, this year, the difference is 10.25%.
Hold on, let me look at those numbers just so I can figure out where the heck I am.
That was last year's approved quotas,
Yes.
which were much lower than the recommended quotas, possibly
10%.
somewhat lower.
All right, but that's rifle. I'm looking at, oh, and that would not be accurate because that was not reflective of the 100 and some odd difference. So actually, what are we giving out this year? As proposed by the department, you're talking 17,000.
595, something like that. That's the total number, though. The number we're dealing with is just under 14,000. That's the 1331, 1341, 1371, resident and non-resident.
Okay. Yeah, after we take the 2,800 out. Okay, youth's taken out of that. I'm trying to come up with that number so I can get it. 746 total. All right, further discussion on the proposed amendment. Who would like to further discuss the proposed amendment? I hear further discussion on the proposed amendment, or go ahead, Commissioner Macbeth.
I'd like to ask Commissioner Capurro how he came up with 15%. What's the basis for the 15% number?
Frankly, trying to find something we can come together on and get a positive vote on.
I see, but so there's no basis for it. I mean, it's just a,
Well, the basis is that the population is, I've said it at least 3 times today, is that our population is flat. I believe something needs to be done to start with. The fairest way to do it, in my mind, and you could vote one way or the other, is to reduce it by the percentage, some percentage. And I picked 15 because the increase that they've asked for this year is 10. The population is static. And to get a start on some increases, to increase the herds, I said 15.
okay, and
No science involved in it.
Okay, and obviously, but let me just follow up. I want to follow that line up. How is taking 15% less bucks out of this herd, out of our statewide population, going to increase the herd? In other words, you're taking males out, all you're talking about is taking males out of the population. Explain to me how that results in an increase in the population.
Hold on just a second. We don't need one commissioner asking another commissioner questions. If you have a comment, make comment. If he chooses to respond afterwards, he may. So your comment or question to the general world is you would like to know what the basis for that is, correct? Okay, you have the floor, Commissioner
I will
Capurro.
make the comment. There'll be 1,500 buck deer that won't be shot, okay? That's a 1,500 animal increase in the herd.
Okay, Commissioner Vogler.
It's not if you cut over by 15%, the number of tags, not bucks killed. We're not talking about dead animals on the ground. We're talking about cutting the tag. You enhance the hunt for the ones that are remaining, and the number of bucks taken will go up. So percentage-wise, you still accomplish what you wanted to accomplish, because not everybody gets a deer when they go hunting. But if you have fewer hunters out there, they have more bucks to pick from. If what we're saying and what everybody tells me in White Pine County, including my cab, that they're going down, you have a higher success ratio, so you still take out the male animal, whether it's 15,
All right,
20, or
hey,
30.
hold on. We need to cut the crosstalk, including the audience. Everybody up here. Commissioner Vogler had his point. Commissioner Macbeth.
My response to Commissioner Vogler would be to, again, go back to the White Pine County recommendations, and which I have already been on record that I am willing to accept, in total, is nothing compared to what you've just stated, and that's what's troubling to me. I'm looking at it right here, and I'll read it to you. Unit group 11 to 113, reduced from 425 to 400. That's the early hunt. Late hunt, 48 to 40. 114 to 115, 16 to 7. Unit 121 early, reduced from 199 to 171. Unit 121 late, reduced to 9. Unit groups 131 to 134, from 234 to 200. Unit group 221 to 223, for a quota of 19. Nothing by the White Pine County Advisory Board is anywhere close to what you just stated.
Okay, I need to respond.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Macbeth. Commissioner Vogler, please, and then we'll have Commissioner Howell speak. Go ahead, Commissioner Vogler.
Shane, if there's any reprisal against you, I apologize, but this enough is enough. There's an intimidation factor from hell here. As I walked in this building this morning, I had a long conversation with the representative of the cab. He mentioned the names of several guides and several people who spend their time horn hunting, spotting elk, spotting deer, spotting, and all they ever say, and he mentioned them by name, I will leave them out, said that there are no deer in 111, 112, and if they shut it completely down, everybody would probably be happy. But do you think you can do that? We're the ones that's got our necks on the line. The calves are not going to come in and cut their own noses off to spite their faces, at least in that case. I talked to several of the others. A couple of them are guides. They don't want to say anything. There's an intimidation factor there. So they don't say anything. So these recommendations they made were not made in good faith. I do not believe. I was at the meeting. You were not, Mr. Macbeth. Sorry.
All right. Thank you very much. Commissioners over, we had Commissioner Howell had the floor next. I promised him.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At what time are we going to process that last motion amendment.
Let's vote.
Very soon. We had one comment. Somebody had already had their hand up prior, and then we'll vote on that amendment, and then we'll move on to the main motion. Go ahead, Commissioner Macbeth.
Okay, again, we have to make our decisions based on what comes before this commission. Those guides that you just referenced are not here, and what we have is an official CAB recommendation, and those are the facts that are before this commission, and all of this other stuff that's flying around is not before this commission and can't be the basis of our decision.
Okay, thank you. I get 12.1% when I was doing my math, but I might have missed a number in there as what the total endow totals were for between last year and this year, after subtracting out the juniors. Might be off by percentage point, but we're talking about a 12% roughly increase this year after we've taken them out. Okay, everybody understand the motion? All in favor of the motion?
Point of order.
Yes.
Just a question for clarification. If we vote to accept this
Amendment, then we'll have it'll become the new main
okay,
motion.
so we're not tied to accepting this in the main amendment.
That's my
I just want to
understanding.
make sure that's clear.
That's my understanding. All in favor of the amendment to the main motion? And I'll just throw out sometimes, you amend motions just because it sounds a little better to you. And signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Right.
All right. All in favor of the motions to amend signify by raising your hand. All opposed?
Can you say I can't?
Okay, I'm gathering this. The in favor of the motion to amend are Commissioner Capurro, Cavan, Wallace, Macbeth. Opposed would be the other 5. Still think we need to better amend the main motion now that it's back to the other one.
So
Looking for a
is the
different one. Main
now-
motion is now as it was before. Motion to amend failed. Let's find something a little more palatable. Yes.
I move to amend the motion to make the changes on those same hunt numbers to be the 2010 levels.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to put the quotas from those hunt numbers, all those hunt numbers that are left at the 2010 levels. This would only amend the main motion. This is an amendment to the motion. Does everybody understand this amendment? All in favor of the amendment signify by raising your hand.
Excuse me.
Okay,
I'm
hold
not
on.
Sure, I
Stop. Okay, go ahead. You didn't understand?
I don't think so. Say
Okay.
it again.
We have amendment to the motion. And that amendment to the motion would replace the main motion with one that said the new quotas for this year, and it really wouldn't work out because but anyways, would be at the same levels as 2010. And let me discuss it just a second. A couple reasons why it technically couldn't work, and that would be is because there's new units and things. And
That's ridiculous.
but anyways, there's a motion, a second on the floor. If it dies, we can come back.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, we had a comment from Commissioner Shrum. Please go ahead. Okay,
Not worth it.
thank you. Please go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, we did it earlier with the mountain goat, where we combined units and stuff like that.
We may have to go through some of
And
these
we
blank
may
units.
have to go through them separately, I guess. But I think we need to,
Okay, all in favor of that amendment to the main motion, and this would simply amend the main motion, signify by raising your hand. All opposed? Okay, same vote exactly as last time, motion to amend fails. I'm trying to find something that's some good middle ground here. At the very least, we're defining where middle ground is, and that's a good thing. Commissioner Vogler.
I make the motion that we reduce right straight across the board 25%.
Second.
We're redefining middle ground. Okay, and there's now an amendment on the floor to reduce the proposed quotas for all the hunt units remaining by 25% from the proposed for this year, correct?
That is correct.
Which would okay, and that has been properly moved by Commissioner Vogler, seconded by Commissioner Lent. And just for clarification in my mind, that would actually mean approximately a 13% reduction over last year's numbers, according to the math I did, give or take a percent. Okay? Trying to define where the middle ground is. All in favor of that, to amend the main motion to state that. Does everybody understand first? Signify by raising your hand. Okay.
Wait a second.
Wait.
I'm sorry.
Okay, there is an amendment on the floor. Okay, we'll revote in just a second after I clarify and restate. There is currently an amendment on the floor, a motion on the floor to amend the main motion, so that the main motion would now read, all of the hunt units, 1331, 71, all the rest of them that we have not approved yet, would be reduced by 25% over the proposed 2011 quotas. Okay? Is that clear?
So,
That would be the new main motion. That would make it the new main motion if this amendment passes.
Which we are not tied to on the main motion.
For the record, the staff nodded that is correct. Okay? So the new main motion would now read that. Everybody understand the motion? Any questions on the motion? 3, no.
And that's a 13% roughly deduction from
Last year's.
2010 quote.
Right.
So
Right.
25% is the cumulative vote, so it's actually only a 13% reduction.
Right.
from last year.
Okay.
Which is actually nothing.
That's clarification. All in favor of that motion to amend the main motion, please signify by raising your hand. All opposed. Motion to amend passes 8-0. Middle ground is being found in this commission.
Call for sandwiches.
Chairman Rain,
Call for sandwiches.
I wanted to point out a commission policy that has bearing on setting quotas.
We're kind of tied to things, but if you got something on a policy, just let us read it briefly.
This is your policy, and it sets hunting opportunities and harvest levels for all species. And this paragraph has much bearing on this, in all this craziness that I hear. Population estimates of male and females for each unit group at the pre-hunt period will be, not shall, will be the basis for determining projected harvest levels. Not some bartering of a percent value that has no bearing.
Thank you for your input. We much appreciate us reading that. I'm pretty sure all the commissioners have read our policies and whatnot, and we've policies. So I appreciate it.
You wanna go
But that is good. Now, of course, there's always the questions that were previously raised. So we now have a new main motion, and that reads basically an across-the-board cut in quotas by 25% from the 2011 levels, which has been pointed out to be somewhere around 12.5%, 13% decrease over last year's levels. Okay. And we've had a lot of discussion as to why. Do you have any other amendments we'd like to go through on this?
We just passed the main motion, didn't we?
That was the amendment. Now, the main motion is now amended. That was an amendment. It's now been amended to read that. All in favor of the new main motion? Okay, we have a question on the main motion, comment on.
the new main motion is the same as the last motion, is that?
Yes, it stands as amended. The amendment replaced the old main motion.
It's 25.
So 25% across the board over all the remaining units from the 2011 quotas, so makes about 13% reduction over last year's levels.
Given the new policy, I think we should take a break. I think we should look at our policy and figure out where we're at here.
All right, Miles, want to take 5?
Yeah.
Take 5.
We'll be leaving it in the bathroom.